Well, folks, at halftime, the Eagles are ahead 14-0. We thought it was going to be 21-0.
An exciting 21-0 for sure.
My goodness, I tell you, Damon Carroll just continues to impress me. Every time I see this young man touch the football, I gain a little more respect for his abilities. That 70-yard interception and return was negated by a clipping call after the reception was made by Carroll. The officials did call a clip. And the extra play that was run, Walt, as you explained to me so diligently, appeared to be because certainly you can't end the half or any period on a defensive penalty, but you also can't end the half if a penalty is accepted. So they had to run the extra play. Roger Grove ran out the time. But, boy, what a shame. That was such a dramatic play.
Yeah, and it sounds ridiculous to say, oh, you can't shoot for the end zone in a situation like that because of who Norristown's got back there. It seems like it would be so difficult for Norristown to get it in the end zone. But you have to be concerned with that. They have so many people. They're big offensive weapons. Mitchell and Carroll are back there on defense. And you know that Carroll can do that when the ball's handed to him. There's certainly no reason with a little more room back there he can't do it, and we saw him do it. So as strange as it may seem to have to worry about something like that, worry about your defense not scoring, you have to be concerned with it, and that's just another weapon that Norristown has.
Walt, I agree with you 1,000%. As I saw Damon Carroll camping under that ball, I was about to say, gee, I guess that's as good as a punt. And I checked myself because I thought, you know what? With Damon Carroll catching that ball with time to set up and with a squad not prepared to defend, not prepared to tackle, he's extremely dangerous. And, boy, he really showed it on that play. I don't know how he slipped some of those tackles.
Yeah, and that's another reason you don't punt. It's because they have guys like that. But to tell you the truth, I mean, as amazing as Damon Carroll is, I don't know how he slipped some of the tackles either, and we're talking about it. It was negated. It didn't even count, but it was certainly the most exciting play. It was closely rivaled by Jeff Butler's run, but it was the most exciting play of the first half. But he never should have slipped all those tackles. He should have been brought down back at his own 26, where he intercepted the ball and the clipping sprung him, and then the two men on the sideline should have tackled him. But yeah, Truman really would have had their hearts broken right there, and probably the game broken. Right now they're still in it, and it's a little tough to regroup after something like that, whether it counted or not, because you see, wow, we're up against some serious firepower. But Truman's going to come out and hopefully stay strong.
Well, Walt, it really was a seesaw battle in the first half until Norristown sprung free with 7:51 remaining in that second quarter. They capitalized on a blocked punt by Eric Stead deep in Truman territory. Punter Hugh McFarland was in his own end zone, as you mentioned, took too much time. Stead swatted the ball down. It was recovered at about the 5-yard line, and the Eagles were able to punch it into the end zone. Jeff Butler on the carry. Steve Davis, his usual steady job at kicker, added the extra point, and Norristown wasn't done there.
Well, yeah, and that's why we talk about field position, is because things like that can happen. But then again, with a guy like Jeff Butler, you don't need great field position. You just need some good blocks and to get him around the end. That's exactly what they did when, with 1:14 left in the second quarter, he went around the end for 78 yards. After about 5 yards, he just turned it upfield, and it's a 70-yard sprint from there.
And that's where we stand right now, folks. The Eagles up on top, 14-0. Steve Davis, the Eagle kicker, has done an exceptional job this year. I continue to be impressed also by his abilities. He is a standout on the soccer team, but he does an admirable job here kicking for Roger Grove. And the Eagles will receive here to begin the second half. They'll be defending the end zone to the right of your screen. And, Walt, you're absolutely right. Truman has their work cut out for them here in this second half. Norristown certainly needs to establish a good offensive possession, eat up some time here. But when Truman gets the ball back, I'm going to have to wonder what their head coach told those young men in the locker room, because they have been wholly unsuccessful on offense.
Oh, they came out and we were talking about them being a little bit creative. The problem was it was only their sets that were creative. The plays weren't. So they're going to have to go to the air some more. The running game is not working, and in fact, they don't have the serious weapons on the ground. They're going to have to get the ball to Ingram. We haven't seen him. We talked him up, and everyone was expecting a huge game. And frankly, he hasn't done that much, but because he hasn't touched the ball, maybe an end around with him, maybe a reverse. They're going to have to try something, but first, they're going to have to stop Norristown early and get good field position.
And again, the Truman Tigers, led by a sophomore quarterback, Steve Slivka, We talked about it earlier. Slivka's got the arm, but it just doesn't seem like he's really in rhythm or in sync when he's been under some intense pressure from the Norristown defense.
Well, and everything is high. The passes he's throwing, a lot of them are high. That's the problem with them being off the mark. I think he's having a little trouble seeing over that line. And when you have a high-caliber athlete like these out on the field, you don't want to say, well, he's possibly still growing. But if he could pick up a couple inches, he really could be a dangerous quarterback.
And here's the kick by number 10, Tim Whalen. It's a low kick. It's going to scoot all the way through to Brahim Mitchell, who picks it up in front of Damon Carroll. Mitchell up the middle is tripped up, but a good return. And the Eagles will take possession at their own 35-yard line. And Walt, certainly that kickoff was the product of trying to avoid the big Norristown run back.
Yeah, that's for sure. That low one will keep it from being a big run back and allow your coverage to get down there. And Mitchell's still doing a good job.
So Phil Galliano will set the offense for the Eagles again here. Good field position for Norristown. He'll have his two horses in the backfield, Damon Carroll and Jeff Butler. Galliano hands to Carroll up the middle. That time Yoakum made the tackle, came off of his tackle spot, managed to wrap up Damon Carroll, but Damon picked up 5 on the play.
Yeah, and that time the Tigers had to commit to Jeff Butler, seeing what he did in the first half. And that allowed Carroll to get a few yards off the other side. Norristown is probably going to have to do a little more of that and get Carroll the ball when Truman isn't keying on him. That's how you're going to get him his yardage.
So it'll be 2nd down and 5 for Norristown. The backs are split. Brahim Mitchell in the slot. The pitch goes to Butler. Butler hits the hole. 1st down, Norristown. Boy, I'll tell you, that was a nice little run by Jeff Butler. There wasn't a whole lot of room out front there.
Yeah, he blew through some arm tackles, and when he finally got a couple people around him and a guy in front of him, he was brought down, but not until he moved the sticks.
So Butler carries it out to the Norristown 47. And I'll tell you, we talked a little bit about Tim Yoakum here tonight, but we really haven't called his name all that much on defense.
They've neutralized him well by running away from him, and that time they ran right at him and managed to push him back.
This time they go to Carroll off the right side. Big hole. He slips through into the secondary. Unbelievable. Walt, that young man has such quickness and such bursts of speed.
Yeah, and the thing that really gets him through those holes is his balance. I mean, he's getting hacked and chopped all around his legs, but great balance and the ability to stop and start and just dash through that hole. You really want to compare him with a style that a running back, maybe a pro back, that has that style. But he just does it all right now on that field. He's got the darting moves and the speed.
And it was 22 yards on that carry, carrying deep into Truman territory. 1st and 10 Norristown from the 30-yard line. The handoff, the quick handoff goes to Butler, and he's wrapped up, fights his way, tries for some second effort, but he's unable to break free, and he's brought down that time by Yoakum.
Norristown's come out conservatively, as they should, in the second half, keeping the ball on the ground. And as we've seen Norristown do in the second half, running the ball much better than in the first half. And in this case, they happen to be up by 2 touchdowns, and running the ball is exactly what you need.
2-yard loss on that carry. It'll be 2nd and 12 for the Eagles. The back's in the eye this time. 2 receivers right. This time they go on the reverse to Brahim Mitchell, and Brahim really never got on track, and Tim Yoakum really stayed home, did a good job of wrapping Mitchell up, and Mitchell basically, Walt, just fell into his arms.
Yeah, well, that's one tackle you're not going to break, and that's why Norristown's been fairly successful on offense tonight, is that he hasn't been able to get to the ball carrier. But that time he was staying at home. They tried to get him to overcommit with the fake into the line, but Yoakum never went, and Mitchell was brought down.
3 yards on the carry brings up 3rd and 9 from just about the 30-yard line of the Tigers. Galliano fumbles the snap. The ball is loose. Looks like Truman ball. We'll wait and see what the officials uncover down at the bottom of that pile. And that's something we haven't seen much this year, Walt. Nope, Norristown was able to recover the ball. It'll bring up 4th down, so a break for the Eagles there.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to get out a little too quickly that time. And Eagles were fortunate, as when Galliano went to reach back, his guard sort of stepped on him as he was getting pushed back, but Galliano was able to slip underneath.
Looked like Ra Lusain was able to pick that ball up at the bottom of the pile. We've got a Norristown player hurting on the field here. He's being attended to by the coaching staff. Looks like number 72, Tom McKernan, who's down on the field.
Yeah, and as I said, the McKernan being inside there in the interior of that line, there were a lot of people going down low and going for that ball. And while some of the defensive linemen may not know it, McKernan may not even know the ball is loose, they're still playing their game and trying to hold their blocks. As the people going down, you wind up with a twisted ankle or someone falling over on your leg.
So the Eagles certainly are deep enough in Truman territory with a 14-point lead that they're going to try and create something here on 4th and long. 4th and 9, Tom McKernan walking off the field under his own power, which is good to see. And again, it'll be Hicks and Mitchell to the right. Carroll in the slot. Jeff Butler is the lone back. Galliano, there's a flag. Little anticipation there by one of the linebackers on a blitz. And looked like Galliano's cadence threw him off there a bit, and I think we're going to see an offsides against the defense.
Yeah, well, he went with the extra long count, and that is the call. Well, Norristown doing a nice job of holding their position over there, but Galliano went with the long count, and he got the jump, and a nice idea by Norristown to try and get the yardage on the offsides call.
So now the Eagles will perhaps change up their play calling selection. Instead of 4th and 9, 4th and 4 from the opponent's 25-yard line. 7:47 to play in the third quarter. And the Eagles up on top, 14-0. Number 71, Eric Schrader, into the ball game. Galliano with another long count. Another fumble on the snap. And that time, I think Marvell Jones recovered. Pardon me, Marvell Rogers. Yep, Truman has the ball, folks. So Norristown dodges a bullet on one play and then comes back to do just the same thing, and they lose possession this time around.
Yeah, and that's a product of just trying to get out of there too fast and trying to throw your block a little too fast. Norristown, there's really no reason for that at this point, being up 14-0 and having good field position. But on the 4th and 4, there's always a little bit of more adrenaline running, and things like that will happen. But Norristown right now in good position, still has Truman pinned back fairly deep.
So Truman with their first offensive possession. Norristown ate up almost 5 minutes on this second half clock with that initial drive. Slivka hands off up the middle, and there's nothing doing there. The man on top of the pile was Tyrone Thompson, and there were a couple Eagles helping out down below.
Eric Stead was the guy at the bottom, and he held his position once again and slipped in there to get the low hit, and that's the initial hit. That's the one you need.
That time the ball carrier was number 48, Ray Traits, and Traits had no room. We'll give him 2 yards on the carry. Make it 2nd down and 8. And again, we have a wide out to the left. Ingram down to the bottom of your screen. Handoff off the left side again. Picks up a couple yards. That was number 44, Rob Crozier, on the carry.
And the interior of the Norristown line is allowing the backers and some of the defensive backs to come up and really be active and try and make the big plays. At that time, a few Norristown players into the defensive backfield. You would think maybe some holes would open up in that front line, but no, sir, nothing doing. With fists up there, they're running right into him, and he is holding his ground very nicely.
We'll call it 3 more yards on that play, bringing up 3rd down and a short 5, a long 4. To Jesus down to the right, Ingram wide left. The backs are split. Slivka takes the snap, the pitch goes to Crozier around the left side, and that will be well short of a 1st down. Good pursuit by Jeff Butler outside there, along with Eric Stead.
And you just saw Norristown close on that ball from all angles. The backside pursuit, the linebacker support, and then the corner coming up to help. The sweep only works if you can get somebody out there leading it. And that time there was nobody leading it, and Norristown played it well.
So on 4th and 4 from their own 35-yard line, I think we're going to see punter Hugh McFarland again. Braheen Mitchell and Rich Hicks back deep for the Eagles. And Walt, that wasn't what I expected to see from the Tigers. I think that was a very conservative play set there. Good snap to McFarland. Stead is in. He's blocked well, though. An excellent kick. High kick taken at the 29-yard line by Hicks. Hicks looks up the middle. There's another flag down. Hicks' return is out to the Eagle 40-yard line, but I think we're going to have that brought back again for a penalty against Norristown as the receiving team. We'll wait for the call here. And the call there against Norristown is delay of game. Apparently Hicks had signaled for the fair catch, and it was an invalid fair catch, and they're moving him back 5 yards for that from the spot of the signal.
Yeah, well, if he signaled for it, of course, by definition of fair catch, you can't go anywhere. So I didn't see him signal for it, but I have to be honest and tell you that I wasn't watching him.
Well, whoever taught you that was one of the rules of broadcasting.
I'm not wearing the stripes.
Me.
I'm not wearing the stripes.
Well, rather than having the ball at their own 40-yard line, we'll move the ball back to just inside the 25. Let's call it the 24, with 4:52 to play in the third quarter.
Hey, Jeff, you said that, excuse me, that Truman drive really was a very conservative, and they didn't have much effort into getting back into this game.
Norristown looks like to be in a running set, and they are. They go to Jeff Butler on the pitch. Butler cuts it back up inside. He is really gang tackled there. Looks like he was stood up that time by number 34 on the defense, Jason Pease. And he was joined in by 3 or 4 of his brethren there who took Jeff Butler for a ride. Small loss on the play. Pardon me, I'm sorry. There actually was a 4-yard gain on the play. It was 1st and 15. Damon Carroll, the ball is loose. Truman players say it's their ball. It is. Boy, I'll tell you, that's the break that the Tigers needed. Damon Carroll had that ball pop free on a play we've seen a dozen times tonight, and that time Damon Carroll couldn't control it.
Yeah, it's a break that the Tigers need, and one you absolutely cannot give to them if you're Norristown. That time Carroll didn't look like the ball was touched, but trying to spin away, the ball just sort of hung in the air there as his body spun away and just popped straight up. And Carroll is limping a little bit, as it looked like he tried to twist away, and his ankle or knee may have been twisted. It looks like he'll be all right, though.
So that was a 2nd and 11 ball carry that time. Carroll never got back to the line of scrimmage, and the Tigers take over at the Norristown 26. We've got a flag again, and all of a sudden, Walt, this game's getting sloppy.
Yeah, just when you expect the caliber to play to maybe pick up, with Norristown protecting the lead and Truman doing some things to try and get back into the game. It's just the opposite. Norristown turns the ball over, and Truman really doesn't put on much of an offensive threat.
Truman shoots themselves in the foot again with an illegal procedure call, backs themselves up 5 yards. Now they face 1st and 15 from the Norristown 31-yard line.
And once again, exactly what you don't need to do. And in the first half, when the game was fairly even, you didn't see these mistakes, and now it seems like both teams can do no right all of a sudden.
And Walt, that's at least 4 fumbles by the Norristown squad tonight, 3 of which they lost. 2 were on 4th downs. There's the handoff. Oh, look at that ball pop free. It's still loose, and picked up by Braheen Mitchell, who's going to take it all the way. Nobody even close. Wow, look at Braheen Mitchell, 75 yards for a score. And that has just got to break the backs of these poor young players on Truman. There's a flag thrown in the end zone, and Braheen Mitchell's going to get assessed a penalty in the end zone.
Yeah, and back upfield, we have a Truman player who's seriously hurt. Just lying, not moving. I'm not sure if that was the ball carrier, but Lofton Thompson just laid a helmet on the ball. And that's why it popped loose with the ferocity it did. And Norristown in that scramble got one of their speedsters to pick it up and score the touchdown.
That was Mike Hansberry, the ball carrier that time, Walt, and he really was stuck hard. That ball sprung free. We were sort of screened from the play. Mitchell picked it up, I guess, at about the 30-yard line. So let's make that a 70-yard run back for a touchdown. Check my call of 75 yards. And we've got a young man who is down on the field, and it looks like the players are coming back again. I can't believe that. Okay, we're assessing the it's a 15-yard penalty, it looks like, assessing the call against Brahim Mitchell for unsportsmanlike conduct. So the touchdown is good. The Eagles do put 6 more points on the board to increase their lead to 20-0, but an unsportsmanlike call in the end zone, what I used to call excessive jubilation.
But we still have a motionless player back upfield. We did see some hand movement. We'll get a number for you as soon as we can. We're not sure if it was in the scramble or the ball carrier himself. But again, the Norristown defense with a huge play. As our player's now up, and it's number 86. That's Wayne Earhart, the Truman tight end, who's walking off the field now, but obviously was involved in that scramble for the loose ball and hurt.
Well, it's good to see the young man coming off the field under his own power. And actually, we're not seeing it. We're telling you about it. This will be a heck of a the longest extra point attempt Steve Davis has made this year, I'm sure. Let's see if we can get the spot on this one. It'll be the 25. So it's going to be a 35-yard extra point attempt.
15-yard penalty, so the ball will be snapped from about the 17.5, 15 back from the normal spot.
High snap. The the kick is up, but not good. And Steve Davis trying a little extra hard that time, I guess, a little more leg into it, and the extra point is not good, so the Eagle penalty cost them a point here, but they increased their lead by 6, and now commandingly ahead of the Truman Tigers, 20-0.
Yeah, not only the score, but the Norristown players themselves have just shown that they're going to take over this game. A monstrous hit, again, by Lofton Thompson that time, to just lay the hat right on the ball, and Norristown, the quicker team, scooped it up in the scramble, and Mitchell had any one of 4 guys escorting him to the end zone, and very little chase by the Truman Tigers. But again, Jeff, we're seeing Norristown score in every way, and that's what makes them so dangerous, and that's why when teams run up against them, you can study and you can practice all you want, but it's so tough to defense. All 3 teams that Norristown has, offense, defense, and special teams, and any one of them is capable of making the big play and breaking any game open.
Well, I'm happy to see Norristown really step up and take charge of this game. This Truman team is not a walkover. I mean, they're a solid ball club. The 2 league games they've lost have been to excellent teams. They're probably going to lose their 3rd one. It might be a little early to start talking about that, with still 3:12 to play in the 3rd quarter, but they've got a long way to come back and have been wholly ineffective on offense. But I'll tell you, the Eagles have really shown what they're made of here tonight. Davis with a good kick, taken by Ingram at about the 10-yard line, comes up the middle, and Steve Davis makes the tackle. Now that's what you like to see, a kicker who's not afraid to mix it up.
If you're not soccer coach George Lazarowitz, that's what you like to see. But I think Davis maybe a little disinterested with his duties. He certainly wasn't the last man and didn't need to make that tackle. Davis came flying up into the middle and got right in on that.
I think that's that toughness they teach you in the Norristown soccer program. You always told me about that.
It's all part of the game.
There you go.
Steve Davis, I'm sure, will certainly tell you that not as much as football, but soccer can certainly be a contact sport.
You always told me soccer was a tougher game because you guys didn't wear pads. The handoff goes off the left side, picks up 2, perhaps 3 on the play. Eagle defenders covering that play nicely. That was number 44, Rob Crozier, on the carry. He picks up 2. We'll call it 2nd down and 8. Ball's at about the 36-yard line of the Truman Tigers. With 2:15 to play here in the third quarter, the Eagles ahead by 20. Ingram wide right. This time the handoff to Marvell Rogers, and he is spun back for a big loss on the play.
Yeah, Sharif Khalid really got his name in there last week with some big plays against Council Rock, and that time just shot off the corner from the linebacking spot to make a great tackle in the backfield. So Norristown, any one of 5 guys back there, we're even seeing Al Zone playing a good linebacker tonight in the middle. Any one of 5 or 6 guys step into that linebacker spot, and they can all hit, and they can all chase down the ball.
Now, Walt, I'm wondering if we're not seeing Phil Galliano on defense tonight, in part because of that ankle injury we had heard about. We haven't seen Phil really on defense here this evening. Slivka is under deep pressure. They set up the screen. It's well done. Crozier on the reception, but he's still going to be short of the first down. Eric Stead on deep penetration. Slivka did a good job lofting it over Stead.
Well, it's nice if you can get a guy like Eric Stead out of a play because he chases down the ball so well from behind. That time, a couple of the players out there throwing blocks, but Norristown hanging in there well. Specifically number 4, Lamont Johnson, who stayed right with that play to force the receiver out of bounds.
Now it's going to be 4th down again. 4th and 3, let's call it. From about the, let's call it the, just across the 40-yard line. And certainly down by 20 points, we're going to see Truman try and turn it up a notch here.
Norristown was set up in punt return formation and really had to make a quick switch.
Slivka's got his backs in the eye. The handoff goes up the middle, and that's going to be close to a first down. That's going to depend on the spot, Walt. Very, very close.
Yeah, well, Truman decided to just pound it up the middle. I don't know if we caught a shot of that, but Rich Hicks was back deep, and Rich Hicks is certainly a stranger to the defensive side of the ball. He had to sprint off the field, and if Truman could have maybe gotten that play together a bit quicker, they would have been guaranteed a first down.
Yeah, Rates right up the middle.
Got it as it is.
Boy, I'll tell you, first down, that's an interesting play selection. On 4th and 3, they really stuck it up the middle there, and it was successful. So first down now from their 44-yard line.
Yeah, it seems strange that the one of the few times they could pick up 3 yards on a run would be on 4th down when Norristown was looking for it.
Marvell Rogers is wrapped up by Ra-Ra Lusain. Wow.
Let me tell you something. Lofton Thompson is really becoming a ferocious hitter back there in the Eagles' backfield. Lusain made the first hit and was working on bringing the back down, but Lofton Thompson just came up to make sure that the ball carrier went no further. Really lays his shoulder in there and is a good, solid tackler.
Pickup of less than a yard. We're going to still call it 2nd down and 10 here. Line of scrimmage is the 45-yard line of Truman. Slivka back to pass, looks right, then looks left, scrambles, has room, tucks it down, and he is chased out of bounds by the Norristown defense. That was number 3 for the Eagle squad. And Lofton Thompson, I'll tell you, he's as you said, a good ball player.
Yeah, Slivka didn't want to turn that one upfield. He's seen what we're seeing, and that's Lofton Thompson becoming a great hitter, a great defensive player.
That was the last play of the third quarter, so with 12 minutes remaining in this ball game, Norristown a commanding lead. As Steve Slivka was sprinting for his life there, managed to find safe haven on the far sideline, but leaves his squad with 3rd and 6.
Yeah, we've seen through 3 quarters of this game what keeps Truman in games, and that's their defense. And Norristown now with 1 touchdown on defense, and another was a 5-yarder after the after the special teams had turned it over. So Truman defense really doing a respectable job tonight against a high-octane Norristown offense. But we're seeing that the Truman offense just is not good enough to win in Suburban 1. And it's a shame because their defense really has come up with some big plays, and I'm sure has in other games too. But their offense really needs to develop some. I'm sure with the sophomore quarterback, that's what it'll do in the next few years.